Hey everybody, this is Herschel from High School Top 200. This review of Palmerston North Boys for 2016 is brought to you by Fineline Barbers. My mate Vinnie from Fineline Barbers has joined up with a major barbering supplier here in New Zealand, and they are putting together a Aotearoa barber competition. It's a national competition to find out who the best barbers in the country are. Also, they'll be setting up a Facebook page and Instagram page for all barbers to upload their work, and so that us as a public can see what they can do. And on the day event, they'll be able to show their work and show their style and show their what they can do, and us the public can go along and see it. And it's going to be a really good night, really good day in September 2017. So look out for the Aotearoa Barber Competition. It's going to bring all the barbers and the barbering community together and show what they can do as a whole. And it's going to be a really exciting time. So look out for that. Fineline Barbers, Aotearoa Barber Competition. This is kind of normal for like a Super 8 team, because Super 8s and 1A are a special kind of competition based around the amount of hard teams and high-leveled skilled teams that play in this competition. So, even when you look at the record of Palmy boys and what they did throughout the years, and you kind of say, well, that's kind of not impressive. I was like, well, not by numbers, but by the teams in which they play, it's impressive. I mean, I think Palmy boys could have maybe went down to the Christchurch one and maybe even won that competition, or or even went down to Highlanders and won that one, or went up to Harbour and won it. But it's one of those things that when you're in such a hard competition like that, of course you're a record. If you lose two in a row in those competitions, it's kind of like a survival kind of mode thing, and you start to wonder, you get worried. And so it's a really hard competition, and Palmy found it out this year. But they were, it's different. I mean, obviously they had Braden, they had Martini and guys like that, and so they had, and even Te Ariki, who I think was like a pretty underrated hooker, to be honest, and what he could do. And here's another player that kind of, I knew about him, and then I sort of overlooked him a little bit, and I just didn't. I personally couldn't see it until he really hit the back end of the season, kind of thing, and he proved a lot of people wrong, including myself, how good he is. And Te Ariki's just one of those guys, and I think, and because I'm sure he's young enough to come back next year, and if he did, he would probably be one of those front runners for hooker as in New Zealand secondary schools. But he's a smart kid. He's really, he's got other stuff more than rugby in his life. He's just one of those kind of brainy dudes that's around that just plays rugby. But this team as a whole, I thought they did pretty good. I don't think they had a failed season at all, by any standards or anything like that. And they had some really good games. Beating Kings was a good one. As I listed as one of their best games. I thought there was a couple of games that I think they should have maybe snapped up. Obviously the Gisborne game, which they only lost by 2 points, and also the New Plymouth one, which they lost by a try. It's like those kind of games, and even the one against Tauranga. So I think if you turned around maybe 3 of the games, you're looking at a top 10 team just from the turnaround of those kind of games. I mean, they blew out Wellington 35-13 in the beginning of the season, as well as the Scots game that they had and the Francis Douglas game. They lost by 2 points against Auckland Grammar, and so their first season game by my accounts. And so, for games like that, it shows you what they can do. It shows you that they have that potential and that the skill set of the players that they have there. I personally I didn't agree with the backline selection in terms of no, not selection. I agreed with the selection. I didn't agree with the arrangement in which they had them. My understanding would be different. Would be different from the coaches. I still would have had Hunter there at first five. I would have put Stewart in there, Cruden in there. I would have had Leighton and James in the 12 and 13 spots, had Jacob Talamaivawa at the back at fullback, and would have had Araki and Sean on the wings. And I would have done that in the way that Stewart, even though he is really good and he's one to watch out for the future, Hunter would have helped him out by putting him in a good position. Leighton would have been able to also be a decision maker and also sort of be words in his ears to sort of guide him around as well. And then having someone like James at centre, I think would have been that big runner kind of guy as well, along with Araki. But you couldn't have Araki and James in the middle, in the centres, and you couldn't have Sean and Leighton in the middle either, because it wouldn't have, like, you wouldn't have that. The dynamics would be different and they would be off. So I would have Leighton at second five, James in centre, and have Leighton as the second guy to sort of guide around the team and change it up if they needed to at second five, because Leighton's good enough to be creative in the back line, to change a player when it's needed to, and then also to be able to be another kicking guy in a short kind of game and attack the line, and also give that offload pass to James as a centre. I know that they've been playing him at wing. I just personally don't see him as a winger. I actually see him as a centre more when you're playing in the school system. When it comes to the reps, I would put James on the wing. But that's only because reps. And then you have a different sort of amount of players that are there where the skill level is higher. So for me, I personally thought that they had it wrong. And if they were doing all these moves just to maybe because of injuries or things like that, then understandable. But I just had a different viewpoint from the coaches. I just think that it would have worked out maybe a little bit better. The forward pack was always going to be good, and I like and because you had Wesley there, who was also like because he's such a good league player as well. He was kind of like the first receiver kind of creating guy and a playmaker, and it worked sometimes and it didn't work sometimes, but then that comes with timing and being together and things like that as well. In terms of him just hitting the ball, you know, like his leg drive is really strong, and he takes a couple of guys to even put him down. Obviously, you had Braden McKenzie and also Martini up there as well. And then guys like Tyler on the bench, who I'm really looking forward to, and also Michael Ioane is another guy that I think is going to be a prop to look out for next year, and Tyler's going to be Tyler and Michael are going to be those guys that I think we're going to hear a lot about. Michael probably needs to work on his skills a bit more around the rucks, maybe being a bit more safe around the rucks, and in terms of blowing guys out and then keeping himself in a good position to be security and protecting the ball instead of, you know, going to ground and things like that. Just those little things that just need working on, and, you know, finer details kind of thing. But I think that this year they had a really good year. I don't think it was there were like just those few games that if they turn those few games around, and it comes it becomes a different season just from changing those 3-4 games around. The worst loss, probably the Hamilton game, and that's the one that I saw. And even when I was watching it, even when I was watching the Hamilton game and I was looking at all the players, I was thinking, and even in my head I was thinking, okay, this to me is the wrong structure anyway. But this is not how the players play. So like to me, it was just like they're having a really bad day, and it's kind of like when one team's having a bad day, and then it's coincidence that the other team is on their day is having like a really good day, and then they drop 50 points, and it just looked really bad. And I just knew that this is not the Palmy team that people are gonna think that they are when they see the scoreline. And like, it was just one of those days, and but I know this team's gonna get up. I know next year with the guys that they have coming back, like Michael and Mackenzie, and James and Stuart, and like Tyler, like these guys are gonna be the ones that are coming to, they'll shore it up. They'll make sure that the team next year is gonna be strong and successful and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that. That's my review of Palmy Boys. Peace.